Welcome back to ChefConf, everyone. I hope the keynotes that you saw early this morning from Corey and Barry were really inspiring, and I hope you got a sense for what we at Chef are doing in order to make your lives easier, both in terms of implementing our software and ultimately delivering what you need to your business. In this session, one of the things that we're going to focus on is the area of, as a practitioner, as a user of Chef that you've been using our product for such a long time, we at Chef keep delivering new features and functionality to you in venues such as this and at a regular cadence. But one of the things that you will see, and we talked about this at ChefConf last year, if you remember, Corey mentioned about how upgrades are harder and how things are things tend to be not as smooth in order to get to where you need to. We've been thinking about that very hard, and we've been working on trying to make that life easier for you. And that's what this session is about. We'll talk to you about this thing called the Upgrade Lab, where we will help you upgrade to our latest kit and our latest software. But before we get there, I want to talk a little bit about introductions. On this slide, you will see the team, the Workstation team. That is actually the team that's working on a bulk of this. And kudos to this whole team to make this, make what you're about to see happen. And then a little bit of introduction on the speakers for today. We have people from various parts of the organization who are experts at helping our customers get to new software, as well as we have our product manager, Josh, who will be talking to us in a little bit about what we're doing with Upgrade Lab. Now, that being said, by way of introductions, I'm Sudhir Reddy. I'm the head of engineering here at Chef, and I'm super looking forward to meeting every one of you whenever we possibly can. Without further ado, let's now go to Josh. And Josh, what do you have to tell us about what our customers are seeing in terms of being able to upgrade our software and come to the latest kit and journey with us?
Yeah, let's dive right in. There are a lot of aspects of a Chef Infra Client upgrade that can really increase the complexity of getting up to date and consuming the latest and greatest that Chef has to offer. To start, changing a single cookbook often has far-reaching effect and typically means not updating just one, but several cookbooks. When we look at upgrading the Chef Infra Client itself, the impact radius is almost guaranteed to increase dramatically. And let's face it, going through each cookbook, whether it be line by line or based off of test kitchen failures, can be a really taxing process. To make things even more complex, a change to a single node can have network effect as well. Things like existing Chef Infra Client version, the operating system, run list contents, and more can come together pretty quickly to create an upgrade labyrinth that would make even Theseus cringe. The loop in this diagram may as well be an infinite loop in many folks' minds, but we think that we've got something to help break that cycle. With Chef Upgrade Lab, there are a handful of well-defined steps that dramatically reduce upgrade friction and complexity, ultimately allowing for a quick, safe upgrade to take place. Let's dive into them a bit. The first thing that we do in Upgrade Lab is to run a fleet-wide scan to pull reports of all nodes and cookbooks that exist in the Chef user's estate. Next, we isolate our starting point, gaining a full understanding of its node object, cookbooks, and more. We create a local workspace and even generate a kitchen config file that enables folks to start working on their upgrade immediately. Once we've got a local workspace, we just revise the Chef version in our kitchen YAML and run a converge to see how things go. More often than not, we'll see failures. And when that happens, we'll use the power of CookStyle and its autocorrect feature to automatically clear up deprecations and style changes between different versions of Chef. With our refactored recipes, we just run test kitchen one more time, make any remaining changes, and proceed to our standard CI/CD process for getting that cookbook version promoted and deployed. With Chef Upgrade Lab, we only have to change what we need to. We can upgrade as few or as many nodes as possible, and we can do so with complete confidence. We can also do it in a fraction of the time that it used to take. It really is an impressive improvement in the upgrade process. We just scan and report, isolate and capture, test, let and refactor, test and upload, upgrade and deploy. That's it. It really is simple to simply upgrade using Chef Upgrade Lab.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Josh, in terms of what we want to help our customers with and the journey that we want to take our customers in upgrading. Next, I want to bring in Jody Wolfborn, who's a developer advocate here at Chef and has worked with many of the practitioners who use Chef products over the years. And Jody, you've been here a long time. Josh just told us, gave us a pretty good idea about what the customers are seeing, and from his perspective, what we're seeing our customers. What do you think we should be looking at, and what are some of the problems with upgrades that you're seeing, just to give us a different perspective on all of this?
Absolutely. I think when you work for Chef, or when you're when it's very close to your heart, you're usually staying kind of on top of new features, new releases. You might be like contributing to that even. If you're a site reliability engineer or a systems admin and your job is to take care of a fleet, it's not to like take care of Chef necessarily. You have your own business to take care of, but now you also have to go out and build this living, breathing thing that tests to make sure if you do upgrade and pay off this technical debt, that it's not going to break the thing your business actually cares about, right? So I think that's probably the biggest hurdle that I've run into with engineers in the field is it's not that they don't want to upgrade. It's not that they don't want the new features and the cool stuff that's coming out. It's that they can't wrap their minds around the work that will be necessary to go into that. And so I think that's why historically we've seen a lot of dragging feet, as it were, when it comes to upgrading either the Chef client or the Chef server. And like emotionally, from an emotional perspective, I completely get that, because this software is managing how your systems are built. It's managing how they run and operate on a day-to-day basis. And if you tinker with that and it breaks, that's a pretty stressful situation that I don't think anybody wants to find themselves in. And so, yeah, I think that is the sort of historical reason people kind of drag their feet when looking to do a Chef upgrade.
Yeah, Jody. Historically, we've been seeing that. Thanks for explaining that all to us. And certainly, putting our customers through stressful times is not what we want to do at all. The opposite. We want to make this a very pleasurable experience for our customers. Before we get to what we're actually doing to help our customers with that, there's also another piece of our kit that we should talk about and get some background on. And we just released Chef Client 16 or Chef Infra Client 16. And Josh, being the product manager for that piece, how do you think that ties into some of the work that we need to do here and we're helping our customers with?
Yeah, thanks, Sudhir. Our primary goal in Chef 16 was to provide an easier path for users to get started while also simplifying the experience for intermediate to advanced users. On the beginners front, we released YAML functionality in Chef that enables folks to author simple top to bottom resource-only config so they can get going faster and easier. Now, there is a reason that we chose a programming language for Chef, and at some point, YAML probably isn't going to be the right language for the job. When users hit that point, we've included a really straightforward conversion process in Knife that automatically generates a traditional Chef recipe from its YAML counterpart. The other feature that I'm really excited about is unified mode. Most folks that have spent a meaningful amount of time with Chef have likely run into issues that orbit Chef's two-phase execution model. Unified mode eliminates the two-phase model, and for anyone that isn't a decades-long Ruby veteran, dramatically increases the predictability of how the resource will run. Lastly, we've added a ton of new platform support and have given some love and attention to some platforms that we know a lot of users interact with daily. We made some great improvements in Knife on Windows, and it's running, and no, that's not a typo in the presentation, 450% faster than it was previously. We've also added ARM support for several of the most popular distributions out there, enabling users to take advantage of lower cost infrastructure. I'm really proud of what the team was able to accomplish, and I think our users will really enjoy a newer, faster, and simpler Chef Infra Client 16.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff that we put out in Chef Infra Client 16. And one of the things that you mentioned, but I want to hit on, is the performance improvements, right? Over the past months and weeks, what I've seen is that there was a constant stream of messages coming through that we've improved our performance by 100%, by 120%, by 50%, whatever it is. And that to me is truly awesome, because not every second we save in the client runtime and in what we do is hours and weeks and months saved for our customers. So that was truly heartwarming, and that was great to see that the team put some effort behind that, and we got that through. So instrumental in doing all of that is the person I'm about to introduce next, our lead developer on Chef Infra Client. He's Tim Smith, and Tim Smith comes with a lot of customer background and has been also fundamental in writing our tool that we use in Upgrade Lab called CookStyle. So I want to introduce Tim Smith. Tim, welcome, and tell us a little bit about your motivation. What did you bring from your experience that you felt like you can solve with CookStyle and what you're doing here?
Yeah, so I have been in the chef community for a while as a user, longtime user, first time caller kind of thing. And basically my whole job at several different companies was kind of to be the maintainer of Chef. And it was a full-time job. It was super involving to make sure that you were always, you know, on Slack or on IRC, on mailing lists, looking at GitHub to see what those best practices were. You always want to make sure that, you know, you kept the infrastructure you managed as nicely groomed as you could and ready for upgrades as you could. And it was a huge amount of work. And then when I started working at Chef, I came on to the community cookbook team. I became responsible for about 200 cookbooks that Chef produced. And it went from 40 hours as an infrastructure operator to way more than that, you know, 60 hours, 80 hours trying to manage Chef's cookbooks. And it was really just something that wasn't maintainable, right? A person by hand can't go and always make sure they're adopting the best practices. So I wanted to, you know, sprinkle some automation on that. We were an automation company, and it seemed like we needed a solution to kind of make sure that all that really boring work of making sure that, you know, you have the right actions and the right quotes and the right alignments and all those things that you don't want to worry about could just be done by machine. So that was what CookStyle was, just kind of taking away all that work. And it took some tasks that we were doing on internally to maintain our own cookbooks. It took them from things that would take a week of a person manually going through 200 repositories, brought it down to like something you could do while drinking some coffee, maybe. Click merge 50 times and be done, because, you know, computers are really great at that stuff.
Awesome stuff. CookStyle is all a ton of things, but Tim, we are here to talk about Upgrade Lab and how we're making upgrades for our customers really seamless and easy and things. So tie what you just said to us about CookStyle to how that will actually help improve our customers' upgrade experience and process.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that are in a Chef upgrade are really simple kind of A to B migrations. Like the format of this was this, and now it's this. We renamed an action, or we renamed a resource. Don't do this, but do this. And before, you would have to run Test Kitchen. You would have to, you know, upgrade a staging or development environment. You just have to kind of, you know, cross your fingers, see the first place where it errored out, figure out where that error was, fix one line of code, and then keep continuing to do it. That iteration cycle is just really painfully slow. Even with deprecation warnings and things like that, you still have to either log aggregate all your systems and go through those logs to find those deprecation warnings, or again, like run that on Test Kitchen. A lot of the focus of Cookstyle is exactly those deprecations. I think about half of our 180 cops in Cookstyle are around deprecations, and that goes back basically as far as I could find deprecations noted. Anytime there was something that just wasn't necessary anymore, sometimes it's as simple as like delete this line, because that comes for free now, or like change A to B or C to D. We can just have Cookstyle go through and do that for you automatically, which is super powerful if you want to do an upgrade. And you can, specify what version you're trying to upgrade to as well, which is a really great feature of it. So if you're still on Chef 12, you're probably not going to upgrade straight to 16. If you want to upgrade and start to 13 and to 14, you can tell Cookstyle, please only upgrade me to 14, only upgrade me to 13, and you can have that just work for you.
Thanks, Tim. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thanks for tying that into how we can do help with upgrades. All right, we've talked for the last, I don't know how long. I'm sure everyone wants to see some product now and not just watch us talk. Tyler, you got some product to show us?
Howdy, everyone. My name is Tyler, and I'm one of the engineers on the Chef Workstation team. And today I'm going to be going through a demo of upgrading a Chef Client from Chef Client version 12 to Chef Client version 16 using the new tools that we've introduced in Upgrade Labs. The first thing that I wanted to do is show how Upgrade Labs is included in Chef Workstation. So there's two commands that we are going to be using here to look at our existing infrastructure, perform some analysis on it, and see how we want to upgrade those nodes to the latest version of Chef 16. So the first command is chef report. So we see here that there are two sub-commands for chef report. And the first one we're going to look at is chef report nodes. So this is going to generate a report for us, and it will do so looking at all of the nodes on the chef server we specify. So I'm specifying the profile here, which corresponds to the name in the credentials file of that old server, the server running Chef Server 12 with the node bootstrapped to it. And I'm going to pass a flag here to ignore the self-signed certificates that were generated on this server. So here I see I have one node that's running Chef 12. I'm going to say this is a good candidate for upgrading to Chef 16. So the next report we're going to run is the cookbooks report. And so what we see here is we see that there are two cookbooks that the server knows about. And each of those cookbooks is ran on one node, which happens to be this node 01 over here. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to look and determine if we have any known cookbook issues that we know nodes will experience if they try and upgrade from an older Chef version to a newer Chef version. So in our case, 12 to 16. And so we do that by passing this -- verify upgrade flag. It's going to take a little longer to perform here. And what's going on in the background is this tool is downloading the cookbooks from the Chef server and then introspecting them on our local workstation. And when we pass that -- verify upgrade, we see that we get some new columns here in our output. So we have this column for violations and one for auto-correctable. So these refer to cook style violations in our cookbooks. So the summary view just kind of gives a summary. And if we want to get some more information, again, we'll go look at this report. So I've identified a node that I think is a good candidate for upgrading to Chef Infra Client 16. And I've now done some analysis, and I've looked and seen what cookbooks are running on that node, and what are some of the issues that we're going to need to update before we can upgrade the client version installed on that node. So the next tool that I want to show is we wrote a tool called Chef Capture. So this tool allows you to clone an existing node and copy it locally for local development with Test Kitchen. And so we'll go ahead and run that. And we see what's happening. So the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to create a local folder just to your working directory that is going to be the repository for all of these information that we query about that node. We try and copy everything we can about that node to your local workstation for development. That means copying the cookbooks, the environments, the roles, any attributes that are applied to that node. We copy all of that and we write it locally with a Test Kitchen configuration file that's set up to allow us to be able to recreate that node in a local workstation using Vagrant by default. So we're gonna have, so we've started the process of copying that node to to my local workstation. And so we get some information here. This block of text is saying, we have some cookbooks that we've downloaded, but if you as a user have those cookbooks already checked out locally, you can point our tool Chef Capture at them, and we'll use those cookbooks instead of the ones copied from the Chef server. So I'm gonna tab through here. I don't have any of these cookbooks checked out locally, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter. And so now we see that we have this checked out. So I'm going to, if we look here, we see node, node01 repo. Go ahead and cd in that folder, and I'm gonna open it up in my text editor. So we see a bunch of stuff here. The first thing that I wanna look at is this kitchen.yaml. And what we see is we have a kitchen YAML set up to be able to recreate that node with the version of Chef Client that was installed on that node. And we take a really simple best guess at trying to identify what kind of operating system is being ran. And we'll just by default try and create a Vagrant instance of that node. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to look at was the cookbooks. So what we see here is we see the actual 2 cookbooks that were stored on the Chef server that we've cloned down locally and we have defined here. Now, we remember from our report that there were 2 violations that we ran into. And we can see what those violations are if we just run cook style ourselves. That's what Chef report is doing under the covers, and so we can do the same thing. So here I'm specifying that I only want to see chef deprecations and chef correctness cops. I'm excluding some style stuff because those are not things that will cause cookbooks to fail when users are upgrading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run cook style, and we're going to look at at some of these cookbooks that we have here and some of the issues we have. So if we went back and looked at that text report that we were looking at earlier, we would see that these are the same errors that we had in our cookbook report are now being shown here from cookstyle. So one of the cool things about cookstyle is that it has the ability to autocorrect issues that it finds. Most issues can autocorrect some things, and we'll look at that. So if we see, for example, use inline resources is going to be an issue for Chef 12, then we have the ability to autocorrect that. You know, before I even show us correcting that, let's take a step back. Let's do something even better. So what we're going to do is we're going to converge this node with Chef Client 12, and we're going to show that these existing cookbooks run correctly on Chef Client 12. After we run it with Chef Client 12, we're going to upgrade our version to 16, and we're going to show that these cookbooks are going to have issues. So there's things we want to fix that we know will be problems if users just went out and blindly tried to update their cookbooks to 16. And running these kitchen commands takes a little bit, so we'll just let it go through its steps. Okay, kitchen has finished running. What we see in the output is that chef 12.22.5 is installed, and it's going to run the cron cookbook as well as the 2 recipes from the Upgrade Lab Problems cookbook. Now I'm going to go in here and change this to 16.0. And now I'm going to do a kitchen test. So this is going to tear down that existing instance, create a new instance. It's going to install Chef 16 on that instance. And we should see that these cookbooks fail, because we purposefully could put a failure in there to show what would happen if you try and run a cookbook that has a failure on 16 in Test Kitchen, and to show some of the workflows that we wanted to. Okay, so Kitchen is done. What we see here is that this time we installed Chef Client version 16 and ran it. And we got some warnings as well as we got an error. So undefined method set for chef node attribute. We correctly showed, showed how upgrading to 16 without fixing some of these cook style violations will cause errors in the chef client runs. So next, let's fix those errors. So I mentioned earlier, we wanted to run cook style. We're going to pass this autocorrect flag. And what we see here is that 3 errors were automatically corrected. So we fixed the node.set. We removed the supports property from this resource, and then we got rid of the use inline resource property. Actually looks like the autocorrect for node.set changes it to node.normal, which is itself a cop for an even later version of Chef than the one we were looking at. So we have another issue that we want to fix. You see here this R. This means that cookstyle can't automatically fix this error. And so we're going to have to go look and see what we want to do about that. So we get a warning here, do not use node.normal. So let's just go ahead and change that. Let's go ahead and change that to, let's say, override. So we've updated that. We're going to run cook style. We're going to see that we no longer get any errors. And then we're going to run test kitchen. Converge this node, and we should no longer see a failure with our cookbook. There we go. So we fixed the issues in our cookbook that either were or did cause problems when upgrading to later versions of Chef Client from Chef Client 12. And so now we want to go submit those changes back to our nodes, and we're going to go bootstrap that existing node, and we're going to upgrade the version of Chef Client, and we're going to see that it successfully is able to run the updated version of these cookbooks. I'm going to run knife cookbook upload. And so what I'm doing here is I'm going to upload the cron cookbook and that upgrade lab problems cookbook to the Chef server. Go ahead and kick this off, see if we get any errors. Okay, so we see that I uploaded the cron cookbook and the upgrade labs from cookbook to the Chef server. The next thing that we can do is, let's just go look at, that new server and see if we have any cookbooks on there. So this output is a little confusing at first. It's certainly something we can improve. But what we see is there are 2 cookbooks. We have no cookbooks available to generate a report. That's because by default, we won't display information about cookbooks that aren't assigned to a node. So because these tools are really geared towards reporting on, towards helping users upgrade nodes, by default, we don't report on ones that aren't assigned to a node. So I'm gonna run knife bootstrap with a whole bunch of stuff here. So the first thing is I'm saying use the credentials of my new server. I want to bootstrap this to my new server. Second thing I'm specifying is the run list. So I'm saying I want to use that cron cookbook and the upgrade lab problems cookbook. And then I'm going to give it the node name of node 01. And I specifically want to bootstrap it with Chef version 16. In order for the bootstrap to work right, I need to remove the old version of Chef. And so that's what I'm specifying here. So we'll go ahead and kick that off and let it run. So what we see here is it's going to go install Chef 16 on that node. And there we go. So looking back at what we did here, so we specified the run list we wanted to, we specified the version of Chef we want to install, 16, and we re-bootstrapped our node. You can see and verify here that we installed Chef version 16.0.287, and because we updated our cookbooks that we uploaded to the new server, that would go to the new server so that they would work with 16, we don't get any issues. And if we run our node report against the new server, we see that node 01 is there and it's running Chef version 16. And if we look at our cookbooks, we'll see that those are running on one node now. And there we go.
This is showing product to our customer is always so amazing and great. Thank you for doing a great job of both the demo as well as to the team for building all of this out so we can make customers' lives awesome. All right, so now we've built the tool, we've done a bunch of setting up of what we want to solve, etc. I'd love to get some perspective on what a real customer experience with this has been. And I'm going to bring in Jeff Bremiger, who is actually working with a very large customer right now and helping them solve some of this problem. So Jeff, what was your experience and how advantageous was it to have Upgrade Lab in the work that you're doing right now?
That tool alone, before it was fully mature on Windows, and I know a lot of users use Windows, took what would normally be a node kitting 10 to 15 minute knife command to a 15-second run against the entire server with 2,000 nodes in their complete run list in seconds. Being able to isolate one node, because a lot of people still have this node is this server with this role, don't touch anything else, is amazing. Like, that really helped me prove the shift for these guys, because it was so daunting to them. They thought this was going to be a 6-month process with one guy. That they were worried they weren't going to meet their goals to get off of it before licensing lapsed. And just a week or two walkthrough with all the new tool sets, and they were confident that they could have it done in a 10th of the time.
10th of the time, man. Now those are numbers I want to hear, right? Jeff, you were also a customer before, right? And for those of you watching, you should see a trend here. We have Tim, who came in from a customer, and our community, Jeff coming in from a customer. We do actually take a lot of pride in our community folks coming in and helping us out, make Chef better. And Jeff, as you came in from a customer, what was your experience with the tooling then, and what's your experience with the tooling now? What do you think?
It used to take roughly a month, 2 months, having to painstakingly go through every cookbook by hand to find all dependencies, all breakage, to correct it for the newer client versions. When we went to 13, a lot of the ways Chef Client managed some of our current resources at the time were absolutely different from Client 12. Same happened with Chef Client 14.3 when we introduced some of the new Windows things that we're capable of. This time we had a customer who has about 90 cookbooks that they manage across 4,000 nodes, and their base role had 24 cookbooks with roughly 170 data bags connected to it. So that's a fun conversion for a Windows-based role. The newest version of CookStyle, though it works like Food Critic, can detect everything in the new client and fix roughly 80% of what I found. I'm not saying it could do that for everything, but even for these overly complex cookbooks that had some pretty custom things in them, I was able to run it once, correct almost everything broken, and fix minor little things. Between 24 cookbooks, that would have normally taken me 5 months.
5 months, huh? And how long did it take with Upgrade Lab?
Roughly 3 hours.
Wow, 5 months to 3 hours or so? All right, I guess, is it safe to then say that we are really helping people eliminate their tech debt?
Currently, it's the easiest transition to get out of your tech debt hole that I've ever dealt with.
Thanks for that, Jeff. Warms my heart, and this looks like ingredients for awesome sauce right here. So just to give you all a recap of what you saw through this session, you saw that we recognized that upgrades for our customers could be more seamless and painless, and we took that to heart, and we've actually gone and implemented a bunch of things that make your lives as customers and users of our software way easier. You saw some of the problems that our customers face. You saw some of the experience that people who came in from our customers brought along with them, and we're passionate about solving. And then you saw the demo of how we're solving that problem. And of course, we got an idea of real time, what's going on with customers and how we're helping them with that. Hopefully that has got you excited about upgrading to the latest Chef kit, including what I'm about to talk about in a second, but please do go and take a look at all those. With that, let's talk a little bit about what's out there already and what you can go do now. Chef Workstation 20 is up on our download site. It includes Chef Client 16 that Josh talked about a little bit earlier, as well as all the cool stuff with Upgrade Lab. So please go and give it a try, and use all the channels you can to give us feedback, as well as I'm sure we'll hear about some great success stories there too. We also, to help you understand what you need to do to upgrade and what your experiences or what you should expect, we have a great blog site, and our prolific blogger, Mr. Nick Rykar, has written a couple of things, and more are coming. One is just an introduction to upgrading to Chef Infra, and the other is about why upgrade. Why do you need to upgrade? Give those a read. There's some awesome information there, and we keep including more and more there. So keep watching that site. And Chef Client 16, we talked a little bit about that earlier. There's some amazing things there, including ease of use with our YAML mode. You can really just write YAML and configure things, as well as blazing fast knife if you're on Windows. You should give that a try. It's really cool stuff. With that, I hope you all enjoyed the session. I hope you go and look at all the cool stuff we have, and thank you very much for watching.